Hey fellas, before I begin the video, I would just like to quickly state that I'm not advocating for or encouraging the doxing, targeting, harassment, bullying of any individuals that might be mentioned or featured in this particular video. Remember, this is an opinion piece, my particular commentary on the subject matter, however controversial as it may be. So, with that all said, let's go ahead and start the show.
You all know me as Sappho, and I wanted to make a video about coming out. And I want to clear the air and say that, for the record, I am a zoophile.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch!
Hey fellas, today we're going to be talking about Hypnotist Sappho. Whoa, hey, calm down. Whoa, hey, chill. Hey, cut it out. Hey, stop. Shut the fuck up. Not afraid to smack. Whew. Okay, I understand the tensions and emotions might be running a little bit high on this sort of thing right now, but you gotta understand, like, a lot of things have sort of happened since I last covered this sort of subject matter, you know what I mean? And Hypnotist Sappho, well, she's still active, despite what some of you might be thinking, and I understand that there are plenty among you that probably think that, yeah, Hypnotist Sappho's at least taking steps on the path to becoming a decent human being, but allow me to quickly disamuse you of that simple notion right now, because the fact of the matter is, given everything I know about Hypnotist Sappho, everything that she's done, all of her interactions with people, and all the communications that have sort of, like, you know, shared by various people that have actually interacted with her, I can go ahead and safely say that she's a compulsive, pathological liar, alright? I don't think that's a far cry of, like, outside the suspension of disbelief right now, okay? Anyway. I know I've sort of been down for the count for the better part of 2 weeks a while back. You know, back in the transition of December into January. But it's not like I just sat there and I didn't do anything. I've actually sort of been loosely aware of various developments that have happened. A lot of what I know is sort of things that have happened in the past. You know, in the lead up to Hypnotist Sappho releasing a video about how she was a zoophile. And it all just sort of started from there. But you gotta bear in mind, there was a lot of lead up to that, and there was a reason that she released that video. She didn't want somebody to out her, you know, inexplicably, just, you know, let it slip that she was a zoophile, that her, like, personal opinions become publicly known. Even though it happened anyway, she decided that she was gonna own herself rather than let somebody else own her. So why am I making this video now? Well, you know, it was just a couple days ago over the weekend that I couldn't help but notice that Hypnotist Sappho's YouTube channel was no longer publicly available. As in, it was either deleted, it was either suspended, or it was privated. And I've never seen a privated YouTube channel, like I've never been invited into one, so I don't really know which of the three is more likely here, because in case you haven't noticed, a lot of people online deeply resent Hypnotist Sappho, and for good reason. And as far as Hypnotist Sappho as a person, well, you know, there's plenty of doubt out there that, like, Hypnotist Sappho as an individual is even real. They think that this is an elaborate trolling attempt. There have been some zoophiles that kind of shrugged their shoulders after the whole thing came and gone, that Hypnotist Sappho is nothing more than an elaborate troll. A dedicated troll, but a troll nonetheless. And that's bullshit, alright? I'm just gonna go ahead and say that's bullshit. There's no troll out there that's willing to implicate themselves by hummusing with minors, unless they themselves are a pedophile, in which case, hey, you know, that's just, you know, par for the course. But Hypnotist Sappho is definitely an individual with a real identity, and they had engaged in various behaviors along the way that sort of led us up to today. But maybe I'm getting too far ahead of myself. For those of you that have no awareness, you've never heard the name Hypnotist Sappho before, you have no idea who she is, what she's all about, and what she's done. So a quick recap here, or maybe a not so quick recap, depending on how you look at it. Hypnotist Sappho is a VR chat player. I was about to say was, but we're gonna get into that. And also a hypnosis enthusiast, as in they study under the Mike Mandel Hypnosis School of Hypnotherapy. And it's really just a glorified means by which you can sort of seduce people through hypnotherapy, or hypnosis, I should say. She likes to use the term or phrase hypnotherapy, which is definitely something that requires a license. The Mike Mandel School of Hypnosis, it's basically a yearly charge. Like $500 thereabouts for a whole year of courses. And it's kind of like something that you can access online, kind of like Udemy, Coursera, or various other sort of like more academic leaning platforms. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. As far as Hypnotist Sappho themselves, little is really known about their early life. It's really come down to sort of like the events that have played out over the past year. As in, they came onto VR chat and they would sexually molest people, and they would publicly state that they, and this, bear in mind, like this public statement came off Twitter and Discord, so don't think like she just broadcast that on VR chat. She doesn't, alright? If you're wondering what VR chat is, it is the simulation I am occupying right now. All of that, I'm currently in a private world, for those of you that have never touched VR chat, so there's no risk of anybody just coming in here unless they're a very dedicated hacker, in which case, good luck. But that would be certainly interesting, just like a hacker pops in and they're like, hey, what you doing? And I'm just like, well, I'm trying to record a YouTube video here, man. Anyway, so they sort of adopted a mommy like persona where they would sort of target people that were young, impressionable, maybe even socially awkward or emotionally vulnerable, and she would convince them that she was a friend, that she was friendly, that she had interest in them, and that she wanted to get to know them. And it was over a relatively short span of time that she started to gather followers. And with these new followers, she could, do what she wanted to do. She could engage in hypnotherapy sessions. And some of these sessions started to be uploaded to her YouTube channel. And at first they seemed fairly innocuous. There wasn't anything particularly glaring or like problematic about them. Sure, they're kind of weird for anybody that's not really into hypnosis or understands what it's all about. But at the same time, for like anybody else in the furry fandom, hypnosis can be a kink. And as far as Hypnotist Sappho is concerned, this is definitely more of a kink. This is a fetish. This is fetish fulfillment. This is sexual gratification. All right. At first, I was kind of hesitant to make that declaration, but at the same time, there's definitely a sexualized component to all of this. All right. So she was hummusing with minors. No harm, no foul, right? Well, as soon as you hit that sort of sexual gratification thing, in which she was touching people, she was like getting close, very much closer than an adult should really realistically get with a kid, either online or IRL. It was at that point that sort of crossed the line from innocuous to problematic, alright? And it was from there that she had gotten to, become noticed by various people. For instance, there was a world called Furry Talk and Chill. If you're wondering what the significance of that world is, well, Furry Talk and Chill happens to be, just one of the various places where relatively new members of the VR chat community, even old bees go there, just to hummus with a new generation of VR chat players. People that are fairly young, maybe they just got an Oculus Quest 2 and they want to try it out, but they have a problem meeting new people. So really, it's a world intended for meeting new people. And Hypnotist Sappho would go there and interact with people, and she caught the notice of Bandit, who was the former owner of Furry Talk and Chill as far as the worlds go. Stewardship was passed on to another individual because Bandit had stepped down and resigned from his position, so rest in peace, Bandit. But all of this, by the way, not all of this, but the part about Bandit I had no prior knowledge of until JoeCoon's video, which I already mentioned in a prior video, but let's go ahead and continue this narrative. So yeah, Bandit, he couldn't help but notice that Hypnotist Sappho was getting really close with the kids, usually between the ages of 12 to 17, maybe even younger. I think the youngest sort of observed was 9, which is pretty fucking young. I mean, if you know anything about Hypnotist Sappho, you're going to be quickly aware that you don't really want her talking to kids that young, let alone 12 through 17. But anyway. So it was through conversations that she would have with Bandit that Bandit sort of learned that her true, like, opinions about things, and alluded to the fact that, like, she didn't seem to be bothered by the fact that she was getting close to kids. And Hypnotist Sappho's sort of responses to Bandit was that, like, she was incredibly dismissive about any allegations of wrongdoing, that she was just a very motherly figure that was very flirtatious, and that was completely okay. Nothing was going on behind the scenes, except when she started to invite people to private worlds where things would escalate. Because if you didn't know, VR chat just happens to be a place where NSFW things have the potential of happening. Granted, most of the people that, seem to comprise the furry fandom here are very keen to point out that things need to be of legal age limit, alright? Like 18 plus, not anything less. However, given that the barriers of entry into the furry fandom are so low, there's some ne'er-do-wells and some miscreants running around that, just think that it's okay, like anything goes, as long as nobody makes a big deal about it, no harm, no foul. Hypnotist Sappho is definitely of the latter opinion, alright? Anyway, so she also had a Discord server. And the problem with the Discord server is that the Discord server, well, it was like basically intermingling people of an older age demographic with a younger age demographic, alright? So people as young as 9 to 13 could just hummus with people that were in their 20s or 30s. Okay, that's already a little bit weird, because the whole point of the Discord server was, like, a lot of the people that were brought in were from, they had an enthusiastic view of, like, hypnosis, alright? They came because of Hypnotist Sappho. However, various interactions would occur over a span of time that would cause people to leave. They just couldn't handle it. Even moderators were questioning, Hypnotist Sappho's modus operandi, what she was into, and her opinions, and when they found out that she had a very liberalized view of bestiality and zoophilia, they kind of bounced. They were just like, I'm out. And I can't really fault them for that. Alright, so that sort of leads into when her secret was sort of revealed through very intensive conversations that she had with various people. She decided to make the coming out video, and you probably watched it. I covered it. I covered her on several different fronts over the course of 4 videos up to this point. Basically, what happened was, she just made a coming out video where she's like, hey everyone, this is very hard for me to talk about, but I'm making a coming out video because I don't want somebody to have a gotcha moment in the future. So I'm a zoophile, I have an attraction to animals, and yada 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 yada. And she, conflated the struggles of the gay community in the 60s and the 70s with the plight of zoophiles, that they deserve as many rights and recognition as a legitimate sexuality in today's day and age. Not to get too off of a tangent here as far as this whole narrative of a basic timeline, but you gotta admit, zoophiles are getting pretty fucking bold these days. In fact, it's been observed at least a year ago by some more astute, Twitter users and people that decide to make YouTube videos, that there was a growing denomination of people in Twitter that happened to be completely supportive or A-OK with zoophilia. And a lot of them were galvanized by the presence of Hypnotist Sappho. It was from that point that it started this whole grand drama. People online all over the internet were enraptured by this wicker beast of neon, vaporwave colors, and just telling them, hey, I'm a zoophile, and just coming out about it. And, even though that the likes to dislikes ratio was hidden on that particular video, you could already tell through the comment section that it was overwhelmingly negative. And it was also at that point that, Hypnotist Sappho decided to start a bit of a charity organization. What was the point of this charity organization, you might ask? Well, it was to raise awareness, spread educational material, and, in not so many words, indoctrinate the next generation of zoophiles. And if you want to get technical with me and you want to argue, it's like, well, Joe, just putting stuff online, it's completely okay, that's a far cry from indoctrination. Alright, very quickly, look at everything that Hypnotist Sappho has said at this point, her interactions with various people in a private setting versus a public setting, look at her actions, look at the things that she was doing, and how this would continue. She was definitely grooming minors and convincing them into thinking that they were zoophiles themselves. Plenty of minors out there had adopted the Zeta symbol, and it was from there that you had a growing denomination of kids that were suddenly adopting the Zeta symbol and espousing ideals that they were in fact zoophiles and that we needed to accept them as haters, bigots, and trolls. Alright? So I don't want to hear any bullshit where it's just like, oh, well, Joe, she wasn't indoctrinating nobody. Fuck that noise, dude. She definitely fucking was. She knew what she was doing. She was taking in donations. I was curious as to why she was taking donations after the release of that first video. But I quickly found out, because it was in the next video that she basically made a big fuck you to the any haters, bigots, or anything like that. So any air of legitimacy or tact or professionalism in the first video was quickly lost with the second. And in the third video, after she'd been, probably righteously attacked on VR chat, and I hate to say it, it's a shitty thing to do. Stealing somebody's avatar, sometimes these are paid assets. I know for a fact that Wicker Bee smile that she was using is a paid asset, alright? That's something that you have to buy off of Gumroad because a 3D modeler out there poured their heart and soul into creating this fine template for you and I to be able to manipulate into something that would reflect something that we want to be or see or embody our persona. Okay, so people ripped her avatar. There was a growing denomination of people on VRChat that suddenly were aware of who Hypnotist Sappho was and what she was all about. And when they, caught sight of her username, they decided, hey, fuck this bitch. We need her out of here. She was, in not so many words, banned from Furry Talk and Chill. I was not aware that you could actually do that you can, ban people from world instances. I'll look into that more because, I'm a pretty innocuous guy. I like to go out, hang out, chill out, go to public worlds, friends plus worlds, invite plus worlds. Who gives a damn? I've never run into a situation where a specific user was barred from entry from a particular place, but I'm assuming that enough people had reported her account that she got nuisance status. Once you get nuisance status, various things happen to your presence here on VRChat. You can't interact with everybody and anybody and everybody like you used to be able to. Anyway, so she's beginning to experience some of the more less pleasant aspects of her coming out, alright? But, she was going to spearhead a campaign of awareness and fight for the rights of zoophiles everywhere. Hoorah! Various minors were suddenly inspired. She inspired the next generation of zoophiles. One caveat to all that, because this is largely on Twitter Space versus VRChat, although in some cases some of the users do overlap. It's so far be it for me to say whether these kids are actually going to stay zoophiles. It's entirely possible that this is just a phase. The stereotypical, it's not a phase, Mom, this is who I am. And a couple years down the line, they're going to realize how short-sighted they were in stating that they were a zoophile and come to their senses and be a well-adjusted human being like you or I. In other cases, they end up becoming that weird outcast weirdo that likes to fuck the family dog when nobody's looking. Let's hope it's the former as opposed to the latter, because I really don't want to see 10 more Kiro the Wolves in my lifetime, alright? Over the span of the ages. Who knows, maybe there's some sort of famous Twitch gamer, later on, that, everybody loves almost as much as PewDiePie. Well, I think PewDiePie's annoying, but if you guys like him, whatever. But everybody loves them, everybody adores them, everyone loves their content, and then it just gets, revealed that their deepest, darkest secret was the fact that they were a dog fucker. Or, even worse, a zoo sadist. Yeah, not exactly something that you want to find out. But better to find out than let it be a deep, dark secret that, nobody knows about. You don't want to find out about it, but at the same time, I like truth, honesty, the brass tacks, the real deal. I don't like this, presentation that everything's okay when you damn well know it's not. Anyway, whatever. A lot of, so she's getting castigated on VRChat, alright? not anything that you would not really expect, given her, very, abrasive, response to the hate that she got for her coming out video. On Twitter, it's a different story. She's getting hate, but she's also getting a lot of support. A lot of people had followed her. They were gushing over her. They, were willing to defend her. These were minors that were willing to take the fight to the haters and just be like, hey, I don't give a damn about what you have to say. Mama Sappho is better than my real mom because my real mom doesn't give a shit about me. And I'm paraphrasing here, but there were a few tweets like that. A lot of zoophiles were willing to rally behind, Hypnotist Sappho. Why is this important? Alright, so Hypnotist Sappho, in her grand fight against the hatred, the bigotry, and the discrimination of normies like you or I, she decides that she's going to spearhead and lift up, a charitable organization by the name of Zeta North America. And Zeta North America was going to be dedicated towards spreading educational awareness about the plight of zoophiles everywhere, fighting for the rights of zoophiles everywhere, spreading educational material about zoophilia everywhere. That's a bit of a problem, don't you think? And unilaterally, across the whole fucking fandom, all the while all this is going on, videos upon videos are being released about her. The initial reaction was pretty austere, alright? You had people outside of the furry fandom that couldn't help look in with absolute disgust and resentment towards Hypnotist Sappho and everything she stood for and everything that she was doing, and make some grand videos about it, just talking about how this is absolutely wrong, disgusting, and despicable in every sense of the word. And it was, because just because it was a weird thing, looking at all the material that I had access to, because you gotta bear in mind, it's a combination of taking screen caps on Twitter, observing the interactions that happened. A lot of what we know about the private conversations that were occurring between Sappho and various other people out there was largely through them feeling guilty about it and revealing it after the fact. And they, felt a sense of shame. One example is Kylo. Kylo happened to be Hypnotist Sappho's latest boy toy / ex-boyfriend, if you want to call it that. I don't really feel like Hypnotist Sappho, unless you're in real life actually interacting together, I'm hesitant to call it a relationship, alright? I know that long distance relationships occur. I know that in today's day and age, especially after 2 years of quarantine, that's sort of the grim reality we all have to face. Sometimes you find love elsewhere, far beyond your reach, but if the love remains strong enough, then you remain in contact and eventually you come together, and it's, happily ever after. I'm aware that she was with somebody, living with somebody, a live-in boyfriend, who broke up with her pretty much as soon as the coming out video was released. They couldn't handle the drama. They had come to recognize what Hypnotist Sappho was. I don't know the exact specifics about the breakup, but that was a real relationship where two people were together. And, various trolls out there had found pictures to detail, hey, this was the guy, alright? This was the guy that Hypnotist Sappho was with and dating, alright? Yeah, okay. So, there's that information. They appear to be an innocent party. They were both enlisted in the United States Air Force, and it just so happened that things fell apart because Hypnotist Sappho's insatiable desire to interact with kids and possibly fuck a dog, overrode any sensibilities that she had in terms of the relationship, okay? And I can't really fault the guy for basically saying, all right, I'm out. That's got to be a terrible fucking thing, waking up and finding out that your partner, the person that you had relations with, there could have been other littler, smaller pieces of drama that, we're not really privy to. That's probably private information. It's probably going to be something that is only accessible to Hypnotist Sappho and their ex-boyfriend, Jesse, I believe. Before Kylo, there was Gray, who was also one of these fairly young guys, 16 years of age. That's weird. Both Gray and Kylo, Hypnotist Sappho's ex-boyfriend / boy toys. I'm talking about after the real life boyfriend fucked off. They were both 16, like a fairly young age. Hypnotist Sappho, like from my recollection, is 21 years of age. So there's a bit of an age gap, the fact that Hypnotist Sappho is perfectly of legal age and both Gray and Kylo are not, that should be a major fucking red flag. But, it became this ongoing drama. See, the juxtaposition here is that, Hypnotist Sappho, the way she conducted herself, was both in the public light and behind the scenes. And behind the scenes is where you get some of these, messages that people are willing to share after the fact, alright? So, after that, various things had happened that caused Gray to break up with Hypnotist Sappho. We're not entirely sure if Hypnotist Sappho broke things off with him, or if he broke things off with her, but he began to realize that what they were doing was wrong. That he was, an underage minor, and she was an adult. And as an adult, they shouldn't be together, or at least wait until he's 18, where he can make his own decisions and live life as an independent adult. He came to his senses, and he basically said he just couldn't do it anymore, and they broke things off. I'm hesitant to really call these relationships, because Hypnotist Sappho is kind of like a sponge, alright? They're like a mosquito, alright? What they want is that they want to suck you dry of that emotional energy that you got within you. And when you cease to become entertaining or alluring to her, then she's going to find the next one. That's why I call them boy toys as opposed to boyfriends, okay? If you're a swinger, or you're just somebody that is a slut, you're willing to fuck anybody, you're willing to just go out and about, you're willing to say anything in order to get in somebody's pants. Because what Hypnotist Sappho was doing, they would share a lot of messages together. She would share nudes of herself with the other party, and the other party would usually reciprocate, okay? Thankfully, I haven't seen her nudes, and I don't want to, okay? I had, I'm bi, so, I swing out of the way, but at the same time, you gotta understand something, it's a combination of looks and character for me, and as soon as I find out that somebody's mode of character is tainted insofar as they're absolutely disgusting as an individual, like Hypnotist Sappho is, I lose interest very quickly. Doesn't matter how hot you are. Anyway, whatever. Same with Kylo, and the cracks were beginning to show as far as Kylo was concerned, because in the face of all this drama that was bubbling up, various people came out of the woodwork to help, Hypnotist Sappho out, like Becca Husky. Becca Husky is an individual that's an ardent zoophile. They had a, acquaintanceship with Hypnotist Sappho. They were friends, and they, Becca was willing to lie to protect Sappho's ass and say, oh, actually, Becca, Hypnotist Sappho and I, we're in a relationship, so Kylo's just a cute little puppy. And, yeah, Kylo came out with the truth later. That he was the puppy, he was the one that was in love with Hypnotist Sappho, and that, Becca was really just covering for Sappho. That caused some conflict between he and Becca Husky. Becca Husky, if you remember, they've been banned, alright? This is the same individual that was sort of like, hey, all you minors out there, if you need somebody to talk to, just remember, I'm always available. And, yeah, she got banned. She made an alternative account, Becca the Shep, although, the actual name over top of that was Becca the Husky, so you knew it was the same person. I believe that's been banned, but I have no idea, alright? I honestly don't care enough about her as far as, the grand saga is concerned here. Because that's what this is, right? A grand saga. Okay. So what ends up happening is Kylo, he comes to his senses, and he basically reveals a lot of information to anybody and everybody that's willing to listen about what he actually was doing with, Hypnotist Sappho. And there have been various people on the way that Hypnotist Sappho would get close to. A recurrent theme, she would get close to people and then, collect more on top of that. That's how she got her group, okay? That's how she built her group, okay? You can't have that same level of closeness with everybody. There's going to have to be intermittent periods where, you shower somebody with praise, you love bomb them, you convince them they are the absolute apple of your eye, that you absolutely love, care for them, adore them. Because, like, that's what, Hypnotist Sappho would do. She would love bomb people, all right? And when you're a young, like, minor, like between the ages of 12 to 17, as an example, you're in an emotionally vulnerable state. You're in that rebellious teenage phase. You just don't know. You haven't lived long enough to experience everything that somebody's capable of. And for somebody that's willing to take time out of their busy schedule, out of their busy day, and, give you attention, the attention that you're yearning for in some cases, that's going to seem like a pot of gold. That's partly why Hypnotist Sappho became so popular in such a short amount of time. These people were actually convinced that Hypnotist Sappho gave a damn about them, and really for Hypnotist Sappho, it was a combination of power and clout and sexual gratification, because she seems to like them young, alright? In spite of the fact that she's made several assertions that she has no interest in humans or the human form, that she is only attracted to animals, which is a bold-faced lie. God in heaven strike you dead with a thunderbolt for that bold-faced lie. But, Hypnotist Sappho is the grandmommy of all liars. That would be a more fitting title, all right? She likes to go around saying that she's Mama Sappho and that she's got all these kids and it's all for the kids, that she's her mom, and she's just a naturally lovable, motherly figure. Bullshit, all right? There's definitely an ulterior motive here, to say the least. But, yeah, okay. All this is happening, like her world's crumbling apart. There are two people that come up as far as, like, what's thought to be teenage suicide. I believe their name is Serval. They were, a little Titan. I'd call them tater tots. But they were a little Titan model. They made a little TikTok together where it was like, zoo furry pride. And they both cheered together. And, well, Serval, supposedly had, invited people to their house, to kill them. Because they were so stricken by, the implications that were brought on by Hypnotist Sappho, and Julia. I won't say Julia's last name, but I just say that as an identity here. Serval is just fine and well, right? People that were, sympathetic towards the plight of, the young minor, were willing to call the police for a welfare check, and they were fine. Although they were definitely shaken up for a little while because there was definitely some sort of mental duress they had gone under. So Julia, as far as Julia is concerned, Julia was another one of these, young kids that had allegedly committed suicide, and the narrative, and I do say narrative because everything that Hypnotist Sappho says, I take with a fucking fistful of salt, because I don't really trust her more than anybody else. I can't trust her as far as I can throw her, okay? And so I take a fistful of salt anytime she says anything, whether it had been Twitter, or VRChat, or Discord, or TikTok, or Instagram. Because, like I said before, she's a compulsive pathological liar, okay? At this point, you should probably already be aware of that, but if you're not convinced, hey, stay tuned. Julia had allegedly committed suicide because of the hatred and animosity directed at her by anti-zoos and haters and bigots and people that were discriminating against zoophiles, and had allegedly gotten into an argument with their parents who, drove them to suicide. Now, there was no proof of this. There was absolutely no proof of this. There was no, news story. There was nothing in the records. But Hypnotist Sappho, she saw an opportunity. She took that girl's suicide, alleged suicide, and plopped it down, stood up on it like it was a soapbox, and decided to preach to the rest of us, saying, You see what you fucking zoophiles have done? You've driven an innocent kid here to suicide. All you do is spread hatred, animosity, and bigotry. And it turns out that I spelled bullshit, and I called it, because I'm just like, we don't even know if this girl's real. I was wrong on one front. She definitely was real. But, like, she comes back about a week later. Allegedly, the interactions were with Hypnotist Sappho and the parents told her that she had committed suicide. Please don't contact us again. Allegedly. And, Hypnotist Sappho was just like, oh, I am going to the funeral. I am going to make sure that there is a proper funeral here and that the respect that I can offer this poor child is absolutely carried out. No, she came back. She even commented on my YouTube channel. And, I guess I made a little oopsie there. But because I said her full name, because it was so generic, I didn't think it was real. I didn't think she was a real person. I don't, whatever. The reason I didn't think it was a real person was because the icon picture, little cat, that looked like a avatar picture that had been used by a friend of mine like 10 years ago. Minors like today probably wouldn't be aware of it. They wouldn't know about it and they wouldn't use it. Probably. But clearly I've been proven wrong. So, okay, whatever. Julia is alive and well. Fantastic. What does Hypnotist Sappho do? Well, they basically doubled down, tripled down, saying that clearly a hacker had broken into Julia's account and was now talking for them. Because, that's the most reasonable, logical conclusion to draw from this, right? Like, it's entirely possible that this person is just, like suicide. I guess it's not easy to fake your death, but it's easy enough that if your only interactions with somebody is in the online space and they suddenly go silent and there was a lead up to like make you suspect that they committed suicide, then you're probably going to believe that the worst probably happened, especially the longer it takes for them to get back to you. It's a possibility, okay? I don't know like what your personal interactions are with people, but I'm just going by what generally happens, okay? Anyway, Julie was like completely alive and well. They weren't as close to Hypnotist Sappho as Hypnotist Sappho claimed, which was crazy because Hypnotist Sappho was willing to roll out the red carpet and give like, the monarch treatment, like the very queenly treatment to this girl, saying that she was a cherished, innocent soul and loved one, and that she deserved far better than what she got, and that she was too good for this cruel earth. Anyway, Hypnotist Sappho stopped acknowledging Julia's mere existence. I don't know, anyway, Kylo, he continues to speak today on Twitter, by the way, in case you're wondering. Gray, I haven't heard from him for a long damn time now, and those are the only two boy toys / boyfriends that had really deep connections with Hypnotist Sappho until they realized that this was wrong, alright? They sort of saw the writing on the wall, and I guess it was the combination of things, her being a zoophile and, her coming out as a map later. Oops, jumped the gun a little bit. Anyway, all that's going on. Hypnotist Sappho is increasingly getting more and more demented. She's basically challenging the rest of the internet to and she has a lot of time on her hands. Enough that she was getting into full-fledged arguments with anybody and everybody that would poke her about why zoophilia was wrong. And she's been various screen caps by this point are being disseminated far and wide. At first, they only received marginal attention, but towards that point, they were everywhere, all right? And, she actually had the gall to say that, actually, these are all fabricated, okay? I never said this. People are impersonating me. You need to understand, people are impersonating me. And yes, there are various parody accounts of Hypnotist Sappho, but anybody with two brain cells rubbed together can probably readily recognize they are not Hypnotist Sappho, okay? Anyway, so what happens later? Let's move this gravy train along. Okay, so later on, she's getting increasingly more deranged and demented. Her lies are starting to pile up. Twitter comes out with a service called Twitter Spaces, in which you can jump on a call and somebody can host the call and basically broadcast to a wider audience, and host various people. And people can selectively mute themselves. They can, open themselves up for communications and talk to the host or anybody else in the room for that matter. But more and more of these Twitter Spaces are starting to crop up, and they're really just videos that people had recorded anonymously, or maybe not so anonymously, of Hypnotist Sappho, what she was talking about, what she would say, and just like, sometimes just discussing the idea that zoophilia is a-okay and that the age of consent laws are stupid. In fact, there's a shared screen cap where she thinks that the age of consent laws are stupid. She thinks laws are inherently immoral and that, we are just too puritanical, okay? We need to reduce the fucking age of consent so that you can see 12-year-olds with like 35-year-olds, all right? That's what Hypnotist Sappho thinks is a-okay, which is pretty fucking crazy, but that should be par for the course by now. This is a crazy train of like insanity. And we're not even down, we haven't even gone down the rabbit hole yet. Okay, so she's becoming increasingly more deranged. She finally opens up an After Dark account due to the backlash of various people attacking her for the fact that she, doesn't seem to take any interest in moderating what kind of content she shares, fairly graphic, pornographic images of furry porn. Usually mother and son relationships, oddly enough, because... well, I'm foreshadowing for what's coming up next. Anyway, she just keeps getting overly sexualized on her main account, so she opens an After Dark account. And the After Dark account is significant only insofar as she doesn't put a lock on it to pre-screen anybody that happens to follow her, okay? That's a problem. Do you know why that's a problem? Because minors were starting to follow her After Dark page, and she was just openly disseminating furry porn, fairly graphic, pornographic images of furry porn. And, people couldn't help but, observe in the bio, it would specify a person's age, and you saw, various ages from 13 to 14 to 15 to 16. I think the youngest was 9, but, I have various screen caps to sort of pour over here. Alright, so she gets more increasingly just drunk with power, it seems. However, what's Zeta North America doing? So, at first, Zeta North America was the rallying point, the rallying ground for, zoophiles all over the internet to come together. Toggle from Zooier Than Thou was even involved. Various other people that were prominent zoophiles were invited to come in on this. They wanted intellectuals, writers, project planners, organizers, people that could sustain an organization. Now, infighting was sure to happen because, one of the screen caps I saw was, somebody had complained that there was an arrogant prick that came in to basically whisk the donation money away into their own private Bitcoin account. That was the most egregious, of the, declarations, but clearly people within, the zoophile community were getting increasingly unhappy with Hypnotist Sappho and the way she ran things. And I can't imagine that the zoophiles themselves would be very happy with Hypnotist Sappho's behavior or demeanor, because she's gallivanting, getting the entire internet to hate her. It seemed like, from a perspective, her perspective, no publicity is bad publicity, alright? So let's just piss everybody off. I'm getting enough followers. I'm getting enough attention. I'm drawing all of this attention on me. And while there will be hate, it's proof that I'm doing something right because I'm getting a lot of followers and support out of it. Well, the zoophiles, they fucked right off, alright? They weren't going to support, Hypnotist Sappho anymore. The support that she was getting at that point was from the kids. And I can't imagine that those kids could really rub two nickels together unless they had rich parents or got an allowance or something like that, or had a job somehow. But, there's nothing that you can really, support from that other than, having a lot of followers on Twitter or YouTube or what have you. To be fair, her Twitter and her YouTube grew pretty quickly in that time, alright? She had been pushing 2,400 subscribers when she made the coming out video, and up until it was either deleted or privated or suspended, she had over 6,000 subscribers, and I can't really say one way or the other if these were genuine supporters, people that were actually zoophiles or were completely complicit in what Hypnotist Sappho was espousing, or maybe they were even some of the fringe from VRChat that happened to all of the hypnotherapy sessions that she would post to YouTube. I'm of the firm belief that at least half of them are more here to watch the dumpster fire. They're willing to break out the popcorn, just watch the madness ensue, and just kind of like take it what it is, the ravings of a mad woman. And what's crazy is that Hypnotist Sappho, she tries to act all tactful and dignified in her communications with people until she doesn't get her way, because earlier, like shortly after the coming out video, she had invited Coyote Lovely, the lovely Coyote Lovely, to, basically, interview her. And from the interview, she was shown to be the least bit dishonest, Coyote Lovely, clearly, Mama didn't raise no dummy because he was sure to do his research and homework ahead of time. He wasn't going to take any chances with her, and any subtle signs of manipulation in their interactions was going to be snuffed out pretty fucking quickly. And it was. And, Hypnotist Sappho gets butthurt. At first, she's trying to, cuddle up, get all, nice and friendly, and, that went out the window. That was, significantly earlier, alright? But I'm just saying some examples. What was the end goal here, is my question. Anyway, so, she's getting increasingly more lurid and, just, pushing herself out there further and further. The more hatred, the better, alright? And it gets to the point where she's actually saying, she's just dismissively waving the rest of us off and saying, it's like, oh, you are just obsessed with me. You are absolutely obsessed. What, do you want to date me? Do you find me sexy? And she wished that she could, through hypnotherapy, hypnosis, what have you, seduce people into desiring her, wanting her as a person, to fall in love with her, or desire her form. And it was shortly after that, or I should say, shortly before this, she came out as a map, by the way. She adopted the U symbol, and so she had a zeta and a U symbol following her name. Alright? If you're not sure what a map is a minor attracted person. Okay? And it's really just a cutesy label for pedophiles to mask their true intentions. They're absolutely disgusting individuals, and I don't view the label as legitimate, okay? Okay, you have an attraction to minors, but you do realize that the age of consent still applies here, okay? You might have the attraction, but you can't really act on those impulses other than maybe looking for pornography, but then again, pornography, well, cheese pizza, as I like to call it, that's a pretty big fucking deal, especially when the federal government finds out. The FBI will be knocking on your door, fairly shortly if you happen to be even in possession of it. So, yeah. And it's been stated that Hypnotist Sappho would dispense cheese pizza to some people, alright? Anyway, her Discord server was, allegedly purged of minors. A lot of minors were very disappointed. And that was long ago, alright? I forgot to mention it, so I do apologize. But a lot of minors were purged from her server. The youngest moderator she had was actually 17. I said 13 because I was convinced that she was, just trusting enough and had managed to get somebody wrapped around her little pinky finger. A 13-year-old, nah, they were 17. Regardless of whether they're 13 or 17 years old, they're still a minor, okay? And they had access to pornographic material because the story goes that, when people were questioning Hypnotist Sappho about why does this person have access or why is this going on, they had no way of, ultimately knowing whose age was what and, that they only were relegated to moderating the specific channels, which was complete bullshit. Okay, whatever. Her Twitter gets suspended shortly after she makes the map confession. She just comes out as a map. And, yeah, big fucking surprise, right? Both her After Dark and her main account were suspended. And you could just feel the unilateral cheering and, the furore surrounding all of this. People absolutely cheered the fact that Hypnotist Sappho was booted off of Twitter. I couldn't help but feel that suspension was either temporary. I didn't have any understanding of how long this suspension was going to last for. Hopefully several fucking years to a permanent suspension, but we don't know. It's entirely possible this is just an extended temporary suspension. But, hey, Becca Husky was suspended, and they came back with an alternative account. Why shouldn't Hypnotist Sappho, right? Anyway, So now her presence on Twitter is, just cut out. It's getting close to the end of December here, all right? Because the last time I covered that, that really was the big news, that she had been suspended off Twitter. Okay, well, hey, what about more recently? Leading up to December is when she, of her own volition, either privates or deletes the 2 videos that she posted about coming out as a zoophile. The coming out video and To the Haters video. And, as a recap, To the Haters was really just a rebuttal to the hateocracy that she was getting online. All right, basically saying, fuck you, zoos are valid, and you just need to accept it, and, it didn't really do much to endear any of us to her mode of character. This wasn't somebody that was just like, oh dear, I might be a zoophile, I need help. Anyway, so it's getting a little closer to today. I was obviously still down for the count at the time. Well, I was loosely aware of things that were going on. In the lead up to more recent events, she starts making posts on her YouTube community tab. And I'm going to read one for you right here, right now. This is on my virtual desktop, so do pardon me. I'm just going to go ahead and bring that up real quick. Alright. So, this was the earliest one that I have on record, okay? I took a screen cap as soon as I realized that she posted on her community tab, and I decided, hey, this is sufficient for some material just to pour over, current events, what's going on, what have you. Hey everyone! I know it's been a little while, and I've neglected this channel for a while. I've been in a psychiatric hospital for the past week, and I'm likely not leaving until sometime next week, I hope. I'm here for a few different reasons. It's pretty obvious my mental health has declined for months starting in June 2021. As it turns out, I may have been extremely susceptible to subtle manipulations and intrusive thoughts. And once an idea is in my head, I go 110%. I'm being treated for paranoia, delusions, severe anxiety, and depression and paraphilic disorder. I have been given Paxil, Traxidone, and a high dose of Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic, and overall it sedates and calms my brain down. I just finished some intense psychiatric testing and should know about what it indicates soon. I'm an omniphile, paraphiliac, but I am now surrounded by much better people now, helping me recover and see sense in things. I now have a non-contact stance regarding them now, and am strictly relegated to artwork. Anyway, I love you all. I don't mind a little prayer or support for me to heal and get better through medical treatment and reducing and shifting the scope of my views. I will be okay. I sincerely apologize for hate and hurt that I have caused. Thank you for reading. Valerie. Also, now that I hear the name Valerie, spoken aloud, I'm not going to say this person's last name, but I would just like to state right now that Hypnotist Sappho shares the same name with another member of the United States Armed Forces, also in the Air Force, that had roughly a similar looking face, same short brown hair, same overall build, and Hypnotist Sappho, as a red herring, sort of threw out that face, and somebody on TikTok was actually willing to make their own TikTok to sort of come out publicly and say, hey, guys, I am not this person, okay? I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know why I'm getting death threats, but you all, need to chill, okay? Because this could seriously fuck up my career in the Air Force. I feel bad for the girl. Also, I've been sort of pussyfooting around the issue. I'm not transphobic or anything like that, but I would just like to point out right here, right now, that, Hypnotist Sappho, they are biologically male, okay? This is significant because the individual that they borrowed the name from and the face is biologically female. All right, they are two separate individuals. So Valerie, as far as Hypnotist Sappho, is completely different from this other individual who's completely unaffiliated or unrelated to anything that's been going on. Which is the least bit of a shitty thing to do, throw somebody else under the bus so that you can sort of mask and cloud the judgments of various people and dodge the hate mob that you yourself had fucking created. Isn't that a fucking shitty thing to do? Honestly. Anyway. I point that out because that was something that happened in the ongoing sort of lead up to all of this, right? Anyway, I'm going to continue because there's several more posts here. I feel like it's worth reading so that you all have an understanding of all this and you can sort of follow along. But yeah, she made several posts before her YouTube channel was either deleted, suspended, or just, made privated. Alright, so that was the first one. What about... Alright, this is the next one. Small announcement. I get to make memes and have a little lighthearted fun while in psychotherapy. That is not going to be taken away from me by people crying on the internet. I take this therapy very seriously and am being steered away from thoughts that would lead to harmful actions. Between the constant misinformation, lack of context and care of chain of custody, misunderstanding of law and evidence, and the fact that I have been impersonated countless times and had fake receipts made of me, I've stopped caring about appeasing the mob. I do not care about what children screaming on the internet want. I'm in therapy for me and others. I know I need serious help, and I'm getting that. Stop reading a mile deep into everything I say. It's not that complicated. Therapy is not getting rid of someone's ability to grow and forcing conversion therapy. Are you a therapist yourself? No? Then your idea of therapy is probably not very accurate, even if you have been in therapy. Have you been in therapy for paraphilias? No? Then your opinion is not very relevant. Alright, actually head off for now. Valerie, Mama Sappho. See, that label, that pseudonym that she adds to her signature there, that is one indication that, granted, she just started therapy, okay? But, alright, let's take a quick pause here before I continue reading. For those of you unaware, it was widely gleaned by the rest of the internet that, Valerie, or Hypnotist Sappho, whichever you prefer, it was implied heavily that they were involuntarily taken to a psychiatric hospital, a psych ward. Now, the location of this should be in Jersey, but there are various people out there that are skeptical about these claims. They don't think that, Hypnotist Sappho was involuntarily taken anywhere. Even Anonymous got involved. Anonymous actually, placed her full docs, her location, where she was allegedly going for treatment. St. Clair's Doverton Hospital, I believe, in New Jersey. And they're just like, we all know that you're not there. Anonymous is on Hypnotist Sappho's trail. And if you don't know who Anonymous is, they're basically a group of... I can't really call them black hat hackers, and I can't really call them white hat hackers, so I'm going to call them gray hat hackers. They're a bunch of hackers that are affiliated with 4chan and various other places similar to that, and basically, if they see an injustice out in the world, they're going to either speak up about it, or they're going to do things to fuck with the people that are clearly in the wrong. Hypnotist Sappho is clearly in the wrong here for grooming minors, trying to indoctrinate them into zoophilia and things like that. So, Quick update. I'm enrolled in the outpatient program now, and I'm being referred to a psychotherapist for long-term therapy. I'm staying off social media now for the most part, but felt like an update was in order. To date, I have not been contacted by law enforcement, and there is no indication of being under investigation due to complete lack of evidence and very low priority. Also, that thumbnail though, damn. Valerie, Mama Sappho. And she shows a picture of what I believe is Halo. Anyway, so I would just like to mention right here, right now, that a couple days ago, I think last week, you could just see the happiness, the cheers, the celebration of everybody on Twitter that got up in arms and were like, woo! Hypnotist Sappho's finally been arrested! And, you saw the crabs dancing, the crab dance meme. You saw, everybody joining hands together, all celebrating because of a single rumor that was disseminated over TikTok. I looked at that for a bit, was tempted to make, this follow-up video then, but I didn't because it's just kind of something smelled pretty bad, okay? I didn't buy it for a second. I was just kind of dude, 1, how? 2, on what charge? 3, you always got to see the source. any indication that she'd been arrested. It's a good thought, don't get me wrong. Like, you want to see a fucking zoophile and a pedophile all rolled into one be arrested, but at the same time, we do have a legal justice system for a reason, okay? No carte blanche, like Gestapo, just because there's the mere suspicion that you're guilty of something can just whisk you away in the night. Although people here in the United States might argue against that, because I guess the CIA and FBI can technically do that. It'd take a lot of paperwork, but they could probably find a way. Anyway, so there was a vicious rumor disseminated on TikTok, in which case people were absolutely convinced that Hypnotist Sappho had finally been arrested.
I just wanted to say thanks for the information. They got him!
The worst thing about it is, no, they were posting on YouTube less than a day before, and they even smugly laughed at the idea that people were cheering and like getting up in arms and thinking that she'd actually been arrested, and she called them idiots and moved on. In fact, like, I might even have the post still. Alright, I think that was one of the last things I read. I don't know if I took a screen cap of that. If I did, I'll be sure to share it with you all in like later on in the video, but it just seems so innocuous and not really that important. It just goes to show that Hypnotist Sappho, regardless if she's getting help or not, is still a shitty person, okay? But, so if you think that Hypnotist Sappho has finally been arrested, like, more astute people, well, they were very quick to like point out, nah. There's no source. There's no sauce here. Okay? It's dry. The chicken is dry. Where's the fucking lamb sauce? No source. Just a vicious rumor, probably spread by Hypnotist Sappho herself or one of her many supporters. You can never tell which. Okay? But anyway, there's still more posts here that I have, like, saved and tucked away. So, psychology got back to me and talked about results of all the testing. They were quite concerned and said I really fit the profile of someone that would commit suicide, citing all kinds of risk factors. Major depressive disorder, recurrent, severe, with psychiatric features, symptoms of paranoia disorder and borderline personality disorder, severe anxiety, etc. They went over some statistics and said my anxiety was so abnormally high, I was in the top 1 percentile. And when it comes to cognitively, they said top 5 percentile. Apparently, it was extremely easy to tell I'm a struggling person inside. Something about constantly feeding on tons of information, overanalyzing, putting what seems like the weight of the world on my shoulders, extreme levels of stress, living a bit in darkness, and bringing light to issues people don't like. Cognitively, I'm fairly solid, with some particularly bad stress causing some cracks in that. So there you go. I'm being put into a rapid outpatient program and long-term psychiatric care. It's entirely possible, looking at this, that I read these entirely out of order. I did try to date them, I did try to order them, but yeah. There you go. Those were all the posts that I have that were relevant, at least. The last post that I saw hit the channel right before it was deleted, suspended, or removed, or, privated, was something that was completely irrelevant, but I'll go ahead and read it anyway. She was just gushing over an artist. Honestly, I know I'm kind of saying this into the void, but I'm really proud of Artsy. She's so confident about herself, and her voice training is going really nicely too. I heard she is going to start singing and writing songs, and I can't wait to hear that. Lots of love, Artsy. Valerie. Artsy, huh? Oh, Artsy, VR chat. Okay. They're one of those VTuber types. Because obviously you can see the anime, avatar that's seems to be in sort of like a VTuber-esque live stream. So whatever. But imagine Hypnotist Sappho gushing about your work. Okay. So that's all she wrote. So before we continue, because there's going to be a slight change of scenery, we're going to do some closing thoughts here, and before I lose the steam to actually talk about this sort of subject matter, let's just go ahead and look at all of this. What does this mean? She's suspended from Twitter. She's either suspended, deleted her own channel, or, privated her channel on YouTube. And presumably her Instagram and TikTok are gone, just gone to the ether. if you can't really, like, see where I'm going with all this, allow me to spell it out for you. Hypnotist Sappho didn't just disappear from the internet, okay? Like, they got too much here at stake. They have that drive inside of them. They've gone into hiding, okay? I don't really buy into this, like, therapy stuff. I don't really buy into people saying, Joe, oh, don't you think you're being, like, a little bit hard on her? She's clearly taking steps to better herself. Isn't that enough for you? No, it's not. If you're a terrible person to begin with internally, yeah, maybe therapy and psychiatric help can get you to a stable position, but morality and things that knowing the differences between right and wrong, that goes so much deeper than what psychiatric help or therapy can really, impress upon somebody, okay? That's something that you accumulate over a lifetime. It requires the involvement of your parents. It involves, like, the rest of society to sort of step up, and it requires the individual to recognize the differences between right and wrong. And obviously, you've heard about sociopathic people or psychopathic people that, fly in the face of all that. But no, like, even more recently, I've seen posts on Twitter where people were warning people about Hypnotist Sappho. They were just like, dude, I saw her in a world, and she was getting attacked left, right, and center, but she was still stalking people. And one person was exhibiting anxiety because it's just like, dude, she was following me for a while, trying to get up to me, and I just kept getting away from her. Thankfully, I think she got the hint, but ooh. And it's just like, okay, so she's back on VR chat, and she's on her normal, like, account, Hypnotist Sappho, which surprisingly hasn't gotten banned yet, considering everything that's happened, but hey, whatever. I feel like this is the point, like, in all of this, that she's trying to sort of, like, spread the word that, hey, like, I'm going to have to retire this account soon, okay? I'm going to have to adopt a new name, new identity, and, like, that's just how it's going to have to be, because I have too much heat on me, too many people are after me, too many people know my name, and these people won't stop bothering me. So I'm going to have to adopt a new identity. I want to keep the best of the best. I feel like I can trust you, and I want us to maintain a close relationship here, but you're going to have to trust me, and we're going to have to come together. And that's what I think is happening. Either that or old habits die hard, in which case she's going after young minors like she usually does. And by the way, like, these people themselves, the people that were warning other people, they don't have anything really to gain from, like, spilling the beans about Hypnotist Sappho, okay? Other than maybe doing their own moralistic duty, like their good service to the rest of the community. It shows me that Hypnotist Sappho still has a presence here on VR chat, okay? I'm not endorsing that you fuck with her. I'm not endorsing that you crash her. I'm not endorsing that you harass her. What I am saying is that you should probably keep your distance, okay? At the very fucking least. Because she's an incredibly manipulative person. She lies, denies, and is just absolutely crass as far as her interactions with various people. Anyway, I think I've sort of spent time here in the Vaporwave universe long enough. Let's go ahead and have us change the scenery, shall we? Back in a sec. Now, the question that I'm sure is on everyone's minds right now is, why did I go ahead and record this video? Why did I spend an hour to an hour and a half of my time regaling you all on the exploits of a glorified dogfucker? Well, I've always been of the firm belief that any story, no matter how long or how short, is going to have a beginning, middle, and end. And so too is this true for books, movies, short stories, what have you. And if the book's good enough, you're going to go ahead and reread that shit again because it was so damn good the first time around. If the movie was good enough, you're going to go ahead and rewatch that shit because it was so damn good the first time around. The grand saga that is Hypnotist Sappho's time on the internet? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're going to want to deposit that in a deep dark pit and hope it never touches the light of day. That's realistically what most of you are probably feeling right about now, and I can't blame you. So am I trying to say that the story of Hypnotist Sappho's time on the internet is over? Not really. I would say we're definitely past the midpoint, but we're not quite to the very end. And if this was a book, we got to the end of the book, we got a cliffhanger, okay? Because as it stands, Hypnotist Sappho, like, her presence online has diminished significantly. as far as the high-profile Hypnotist Sappho, username on Twitter or YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, what have you. Various troll accounts exist. They're basically espousing, in not so many words, similar things that Hypnotist Sappho would probably say, but in a very, very exaggerated manner. Which is not surprising. Some people have actually reported some, accounts. For instance, there was this one account called Hypnotist Paw, which, their pinned comment is, I believe, this Brazilian guy that had committed suicide. And when I watched the video the first time around, I legit thought it was fake. I thought it was, a professionally done After Effects Photoshop, edit, frame by frame, of somebody that had shot themselves in the head with a shotgun. I don't know who decided to do this. It's truly unfortunate to see people commit suicide in such garish ways, but anyway, the fact that they posted that as pinned that as their primary post. Whew. And there's also an alternative account, Vin R. Wolf, that's still up and available to observe on Twitter, that Hypnotist Sappho was noted to have used. So she's not completely gone, but as far as the more public aspects of her presentation to the rest of us, yes, the fact that her YouTube channel was either deleted, suspended, or privated shows me that, at the very least, they're trying to, distance themselves from the public image that they had put forward, alright? The in-your-face, loud and proud, I am Zoophile, hear me roar. That seems to have done nothing but invited a lot of controversy, a lot of hatred. Let's take a moment here. This is over the span of, several months, maybe close to a year? It's hard to say because, remember, the coming out video was released in September. However, we're already in January, and this had been going on for at least several months before. So I'm going to tentatively say that the entirety up until now was about a year's time, give or take. Because VR chat, as far as, what Hypnotist Sappho would do on VR chat, they've been doing for several months and they got really deep into it, I think it was an occasional thing, and over time it escalated because, they happened to enjoy what VR chat had to offer. A visual medium to tie into her kink, which is hypnosis, the thing that she's such an enthusiast about. Because there's definitely a sexual fetish component to it as a kink, but hey, whatever, if that's what you're into. I don't give a damn about that aspect of things. What I do give a damn about is the fact that she was doing it with kids. But let's go ahead and just see, so the video dropped in September. Okay, the coming out video. The one she's like, hey guys, I'm Hypnotist Sappho, and I just want to come out as a zoophile. And the immediate reaction of the internet was about what you would expect. A lot of furore, the outrage, a lot of people couldn't help but feel absolute disgust in the face of this video. And in the face of all this hate, Hypnotist Sappho decided to make a follow-up video, in which case she showed blatant disregard for the hateocracy that was building up around her, and defiance in the face of criticism. No matter how politely voiced to her, no matter how crudely voiced to her, and she just spent hours upon hours upon hours of her life posting on Twitter, making grand sweeping assertions or arguing various quote-unquote haters, bigots, and discriminatory people that levied crude comments her way. All right? So you had big-name YouTubers talking about it. You had small-time YouTubers talking about it, like yours truly. You even had no-name YouTubers that had less than 100 subscribers. They saw this as an opportunity to talk about something truly abhorrent, and it was definitely going to pique the interest of various users, on YouTube. And it did. Various channels had increased the size of their audience by several hundred subscribers. It was interesting insofar as the fact that Hypnotist Sappho was going full steam ahead, It was just in a relatively short span of time that, as the controversy grew on Twitter, she decided to start that charity organization, and from there, what her, core impact, though, apart from the reaction of the internet, was that she inspired, quite possibly, the next generation of zoophiles. All right, a lot of minors saw Hypnotist Sappho as this motherly, inspirational figure that was going to stand strong against bigotry, hatred, animosity, and discrimination levied at a legitimate sexuality, which was zoophilia, and a lot of them adopted the Z, the Zeta symbol, as a show of solidarity, marking themselves as zoophiles, stating that they were a proud zoophile. It's entirely possible that these kids were just groomed into it, because we have no idea, apart from those that came forward to actually look firsthand at what Hypnotist Sappho was doing. It's entirely possible that a lot of these kids, either they found the ideas themselves, they were brought forward to like these various figures like Becca Husky and, Hypnotist Sappho, and were convinced. It's like, hey, I actually do have an attraction to animals. Now, this can go one of two ways, as I mentioned before. Either they're going to come to their sensibilities in a couple years, and it's going to be a phase, like, the assertions they had today were just like, it's not a phase, Mom, this is who I am. They're going to, have their better sensibilities take over, and they're going to be able to move on with life and become, a functional, well-balanced, productive human being. That's the good ending. The bad ending is they become that weird outcast that is very private about their private life, and you have no idea what they're doing. Quite possibly fucking the family dog when nobody's looking. Not exactly something I'm looking forward to. I don't really want to see the next generation of Kira the Wolves running around, okay? I don't know about you guys, but me personally, that's not exactly something that I find kohishi, okay? So, I say all this because, essentially, during her time, the several months that Hypnotist Sappho had been online, she had accumulated a fairly vast audience. She had several thousand subscribers on YouTube. She had all sorts of followers on Twitter that were willing to talk to her, interact with her, and join her Twitter Spaces when she opened that up, when Twitter Spaces became a thing. So it's a far cry to say that she had corrupted the hearts and minds of thousands of kids, but I would put the number realistically closer to about 50, maybe to 100, and that's a conservative estimate, okay? I have no idea of how many people actively followed Hypnotist Sappho. I should have been taking screen caps of her followers, sort of monitored them, maybe made a guesstimate as to how many of these people were legitimately all for zoophilia versus people that were just saying that to, maybe broaden their appeal to Hypnotist Sappho and the people that she hung out with. It's entirely possible one way or the other, but hey, Hypnotist Sappho, for choosing the name Sappho, that would indicate to me that she has an interest, even a tangential interest, but an interest nonetheless in Greek culture and Greek history. You know what other historical figure had been accused of corrupting the hearts and minds of Athens when, thousands upon thousands of years ago? Yeah, it's my boy Socrates. And when he was basically charged arrested for corrupting the youths of Athens, they gave him a choice. They said, hey, you can go ahead and be exiled, or you can go ahead and drink the hemlock. Hemlock is incredibly poisonous, by the way, so don't drink that if you're offered hemlock, okay? That's pretty much a death sentence. And Socrates, he kind of figured, okay, I'm an old man. I'm not going to last too long out there in the wilds, and I don't think I could find my way to another city-state. I'm going to drink the hemlock. So, what am I trying to say right now? Well, Hypnotist Sappho is actually guilty of corrupting the hearts and minds of the various youths that occupy Twitter. So what I think is, after a thorough police investigation, she should basically be given the choice between life in prison or drink the hemlock. We could make it a pay-per-view event. It could be like that Yugoslavian general who just drank it on live TV rather than face justice for war crimes. It's entirely possible, nah, I'm just kidding. I don't want anybody to die from this, but I do want Hypnotist Sappho to face justice for her bad actions and crimes up to this point. Anonymous has her as a person of interest. They've already mentioned her on Twitter. I'm going to assume that she disregarded it, but basically they said that they knew virtually everything about her. They actually challenged the assertions that she had, that she was in a psychiatric care facility, because they seemed to think and be under the impression that she didn't seek any care, which is entirely possible. I can't help but look at everything that was stated on Hypnotist Sappho's community tab right before she either deleted it or privated it or it was suspended, what have you. I don't believe a fucking bunk of it. Alright? For the simple reason that Hypnotist Sappho has been spotted as of just over the weekend, is still on VR chat under a different name. Enough people sort of recognized her voice, they recognized their model, and they also recognized her mannerisms, and they got the fuck away from her. And they were talking about it, and they were trying to warn people. They were trying to basically spread the word that Hypnotist Sappho was still on VR chat. Now, doesn't that sort of make you think? It sort of activates the elements, doesn't it? Hypnotist Sappho was basically alluding to the idea that she'd been involuntarily taken to a psychiatric care facility. Probably at a hospital, psych ward, okay? It would be great if she was actually getting the care that she needed. It would be great if she actually recognized that she had a problem that she needed help with. And I understand a lot of you guys are probably sympathetic if that were the case, but that's just a fairy tale, a smokescreen that Hypnotist Sappho erected to sort of dispel any hatred, animosity, or inquiries as to her activities, anything that she was doing, so she could sort of just fade away into the ether. And it's entirely possible that either she's going to come back under a new name, new identity, and basically resume operations as they were prior, or they're going to come back with the Hypnotist Sappho, label. That's going to be their username for life. They just need some time to get the heat off their back so that they can sort of recuperate, get into a better mental state to be able to withstand all of the hatred, the bigotry, the animosity, and be able to sort of reassert themselves as the Nami-Mami they so imagine themselves to be. Heaven fucking forbid, right? So is this how the story ends? For now, yeah. Anonymous seems pretty hell-bent on following her to the ends of the earth until she gets arrested, which is something that a lot of people on Twitter want right now, but me personally, only time is going to tell how this goes, one way or the other, right? I can only say this, her impact on the face of the internet was pretty vast for a relatively short span of time, but not all pervasive, right? But a lot of people know her name now. They know what she's all about. They should know what she's guilty of, allegedly. And, there are various people out there that are basically going to have this dark cloud over their head. And when the bullshit got to be too much, Hypnotist Sappho's bullshit, when it got to be too much, people like Kylo and Gray, they didn't care about the judgments of you or I. They were like, hey, here's the evidence. Just leave me alone, please. I feel terrible. The shame brought them to do it. They recognized that Hypnotist Sappho wasn't who she said she was. She wasn't that godly, beneficent being that she likes to portray herself as. That she was basically a social vampire that wanted to suck out their emotional life energies, and when they ceased to be useful, when they ceased to impress, when they ceased to allure her, when they ceased to be, provide her the emotional energies that she needed, she was going to kick them to the curb and find somebody else. I mean, the fact that she went through 2 after her real-life boyfriend left is certainly telling me a lot about, her mode of character, and that maybe she's not exactly as beneficent and benevolent as she likes to profess her to be. But you all probably know that. So I'm probably spinning wheels right about now. Anyway, the fact that she's back on VR chat under a new name, I'm going to be very interested to see if the ID number matches her original account ID number, or she made a different account. See, for those of you that are aware, to those of you that actually know about VR chat and how it functions, each user, you or I, we get a unique identifier that identifies our account number. Now, or our username and password, our account. We can change how it appears to other people. You can change your name, once every 3 months? But the core ID is going to remain the same. It's not going to change. It's what's tied to your avatars. It's how the server accesses your avatars in the database so that you can change your avatars when you need to. That doesn't change. What does change is if it's an entirely different account. So I'm going to try to find that out sometime, just for my own personal curiosity. And, other than that, the story of Hypnotist Sappho is closed as of right now. Not permanently, because there was no grand resolution here. It was more like a nothing burger. You open the burger for that anticipation factor. You get to the end of the book, you're really hoping for a grand finale. Ends on a cliffhanger. That's what happened here. Hypnotist Sappho is on the run and in hiding. Or she's taking some time to herself to recuperate. One of the two, whichever you prefer. I've already decided. So I think that she's sort of just going to come back under a new name and new identity. But that may not be the case. She might come back under Hypnotist Sappho to reclaim what is rightfully hers. Her place as being the Ice Queen that everybody loves to hate. Yo, before I go, there's just one last thing that I wanted to mention. So what I'm about to mention, non-VR chat players, you're probably not going to really give a shit about this, but that avatar that Hypnotist Sappho was using at the very beginning, that Wicker Beast model, from this point forward is forever going to be tainted by the fact that it's going to have loose association, those are aware of it, to Hypnotist Sappho. Alright? Now again, this only pertains to VR chat people. Actually, going a step further, this is going to further ostracize and alienate some people on VR chat who absolutely adore the fucking Wicker Beast model. This is going to cause potential problems for them because almost everybody that's ever found out about Hypnotist Sappho, the first connotations that people that don't use the model are automatically going to drift towards Hypnotist Sappho because of the vague likeness and shape of the model. And all Hypnotist Sappho did was either do it herself or commission somebody to do it, to do a retexture. And retexturing, if you take a base model, then you're basically applying, the coloration to sort of set it apart from any other Wicker Beast or, whatever model that you happen to own, and that might not seem like a big deal to you all, but when you're on a social game and you interact with the same people every day and then you see something like this shit happen, people outside of the program, they're going to see something that looks similar to Hypnotist Sappho, and they're just going to be they're going to have, subconscious correlations, connotations attached to that model. There's going to be a stigma, okay? It's not the fault of the avatar creator, it's not the fault of the people using the avatar, because it's a damn good model. However, given that was the face of Hypnotist Sappho when she made the coming out video, and then to the haters video right after that, I just couldn't help but feel that avatar, whenever I saw a Wicker Beast, that's where my mind would go. Hypnotist Sappho. So, fuck her on a double account there, because that was a damn good model. It deserves to be remembered as a damn good model, not fucking correlations between a dog fucker and the avatar. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, I think I've really talked about this long enough. I mean, I really hope that this was informative to you guys. I feel like I provided you everything that I've been reflecting upon for the past couple of weeks here, and I tried to tie it with a lot of screen caps that were partly from my hard drive, things that I've collected along the way on my phone, versus things that I got from Kiwi Farms. I obviously prefer first-hand accounts, things that I observed firsthand, took a screen cap of, because that's how it should be, right? When you do research on stuff, it's more valuable if it's things that you got firsthand versus secondhand, which is what Kiwi Farms does. Granted, Kiwi Farms is interested in the same thing that you and I are. Facts. They don't like hearsay, they don't like rumor, they don't like bullshit. They want facts, and they will treat each other harshly in order to verify whether or not something is factual or complete bullshit. Anyway, don't believe everything that you read on Twitter. Don't believe everything that you hear on YouTube. Don't believe everything that you see on TikTok, okay? Because there's plenty of disinformation and misinformation out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hypnotist Sappho had a hand, albeit a small one, in spreading some disinformation. Anyway, till next time, guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one. Hey fellas, thanks for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Would you care to hit that like button and subscribe for more? You know I'd greatly appreciate that, right? And hey, I just made affiliate on Twitch, so how about you check me out sometime if you want to watch me play some fidget games. Anyway, till next time guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one.